It's good to have you back.
Mm,
I had asked the team when we were
mm,
preparing for today's show. I'm just aware because I see comments that people send me and they tag me on social media.
yeah.
And I'm really not great at reading my email because I just got too many email accounts. So when I read the email that I get from the show, there is
Hmm.
a sense of Dr. Wendy Williams, a recognition that, yeah, eventually we're going to be all right. But right now, Lurie,
Right.
I'm scared. I am afraid. I got to send my kids back
Yeah.
to school. I did. Somebody had sent me a message. They didn't know whether or not they should trust this vaccine, the vaccines that they were scheduled to get their kids, because they're like, well, do you know if they already messed with the formula? Should I take my kids to Canada to get vaccinated? There's so
Mm,
much palpable fear right now. As much as
mm-hmm.
people are trying to hold on to the, but we gonna be all right of the Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah.
fame,
Yeah. Yeah.
from a mental health perspective, Doc, how should we be balancing the paying attention to the news, paying attention to what's happening, and not allowing fear to be the predominant emotion that we end up stuck in?
Yeah. Um, Listen, and you're catching me on a day, and usually I'm very optimistic, but this week
Mm,
and another school shooting, like my heart is really
right.
heavy. It really is.
Yeah.
And witnessing vicariously, though I do spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C., what is happening there to communities that are predominantly Black in terms of what we're seeing, and Latinx, I would see in terms of the enforcement, the
Yeah.
fear. It's not it's not a theoretical fear. It's very
Mm-mm.
palpable and very tangible, very
Yep.
material. You can see it, touch it, smell it, even if it hasn't happened to you directly.
Yep.
Watching folks traipse down your block, armed or not, in plain clothes or in uniform, none of it is comforting. None of
Right.
it is comforting. So it's a very real, I think, sense of um, fear, and it's warranted. And so I
Mm.
think it's really important. And you mentioned also what's going on with the health of the CDC. I mean, it's bizarre. You mentioned the notes that folks are writing to you, and I think that we have to be more real with ourselves. And
Mm.
um, so
Yep.
here's what I'm going to really say to you, because I love and trust you, and I really appreciate your community and your audience, is that we were doing a lot of the hope and changey happy talk and utilizing the legacy, the real legacy of racial and domestic terror in this country to inform we doing so much better now, ain't we, kind of thing.
Right.
And we have to understand that real hope and real change comes from real pain. And that's where we are,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm.
we had all the joy, if you will, without the pain, if we call in Frankie Beverly and Maze, right? And but we had stories of the pain because our ancestors, our elders, they didn't want us to live with those things. But now we are
Right.
today legitimately living with the real, actual, some of us have already experienced it, and or threat of things that could legitimately truly happen. There is a higher percentage chance that you're going to have an encounter with militarism in a civilian space. There's more of a chance that um, because you can't trust and you don't know what's happening with our health management system and disease prevention care systems, that you're going to get sick, or that people that you love are going to more often get sick. Because
Mm.
as you just led off with the other aspect of the show, we're not even checking for all the things that can happen anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
that is real and legitimate fear. And so when you start to think about real and legitimate fear, then are real and legitimate strategies. And I think that that's the part where we have to really focus our energy and attention. I think that we've likely spent a lot of time saying the hopeful things without understanding that real hope comes from actually having a plan and a strategy.
Wow.
Because then you can
Wow.
hope that what you're going to do works, but you got to do something. So do in life is real today.
Huh. Huh.
It's actually, we started well today, right? But I feel like, yeah, you
Right.
have to. So what is that strategy, and what are our ways of thinking about it? You can't just feel good. You got to do things that will make you trust that what you feel good about is warranted. I think the
Right.
fear right now is that many people know that they're under or not prepared at all.
Can we let's pause there for just a second,
All
because
right.
I was one of those, let's use the hope and changey language, because we going to optimistically carry that man to the finish line. And then when he passed the baton to that lady, we said we going to optimistically. We knew we was going to carry the nation on our back, but we, like every other black woman and black man who's committed to voting for harm reduction, we did the work. We had joy. We did the things. We was like, we knew the pain could come, but we was joyful. We were excited, and now a lot of people are left in
Mm-hmm.
the aftermath of what happens when most of your energy went into trying to accomplish a goal and not in preparing for what happens if the goal did not succeed. And we are in a situation right now where a lot of people are doing, they say they're doing organizing work, but Dr. Williams, is this safe space? Can I have an honest conversation with you right now?
I receive it.
Okay. I'm in
Okay.
conversation with a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
community organizers,
Mm-hmm.
stuck,
Yeah.
many stuck right now, because the entire ecosystem within which many of us do our work has been essentially destroyed. Right? Grants being snatched left, right, and center. Funding no
Mm-hmm.
longer even a possibility, let alone something that you could rely upon. It has
Mm-hmm.
gotten to the point where there are so many people who, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly, are looking at the mutual aid conversation like, who are my mutuals now that we no longer are making money in this way, shape, or like, so even who your mutuals are is shifting. Because if you were looking at mutual aid through the eyes of like institutions helping institutions,
Mm-hmm.
and now your institution has to fold, right? I
Yeah.
got people I'm talking to right now who are like, yo, my institution, I'm like, at this point, I'm giving parachutes to people because I can't, there's no more program funding. This organization has essentially shut down. So the everybody was saying, no, we're doing the work offline. We're doing, and I know some groups are, but it's a lot of groups right now who their offline work is sitting in what it means to look around you and realize you just got hit by a bomb and you're in the blast field, and you're just sort of dazed looking at the destruction that you're trying to make in around you. So that
Mm.
idea that we have plans and that things are happening and that people are preparing and the underground railroads are being built.
Again, see, and this is why I'm going to say it again. It's going back to using real strategy born out of terror and pain in happy go
Yes,
lucky ways. You don't have an underground railroad. Stop saying that.
come on,
Because
come
if you did,
on,
you wouldn't be talking about it. What is that? Okay. Like you have
come
to,
on.
we are we have to appreciate that we have perhaps made very light, LITE, and very palatable the real
Mm,
pain, struggle, racial terror, gender terror. That's what's
mm,
happening in this country right now is the awakening of that original sin. That's what it is. And so you cannot put that on a bumper sticker or hashtag that and think that you did something that is not serious. You got a serious problem, you have to have serious solutions and focus. And
right.
so for me, I feel like that's not serious. I want those folks to be able to be successful. Gosh, I need it, you need it, we all need it. But in order to be so, you have to, and as a psychologist, this is what I do, this is what we do. If you want to solve a problem, you got to be real what the problem is.
Mm.
I
So we,
can't
we can't
solve
hide from how horrible this is right now. The
You
nicey
cannot
nicey
hide. You
language is
no
not
no no
helping.
no no. And hope
Ooh.
and joy have a role there, but the reason why joy and hope are so are so big and powerful and possible is because they are rooted in a very deep relationship with its opposite.
Mm. Mm.
Trees and roots. The reason why a tree can grow so tall and so thick and lush and beautiful, the roots are of equal in depth and distance beneath. So the shadow side, the understanding of what
My
you are,
God.
it has to be just as deep. And we may have been trying to outrun that feeling of how low it could go. We may want it to
Mm.
believe, and I don't want to blame anybody, but there are things that we did allow to pass so that when we did the hopey changey thing in terms of our politic and our psychology needed it as well, I believe, just as a community, as a society, that we just let bygones. When you did that, you cheapened your diversity, equity, and inclusion because you didn't ground it in the horror that you were trying to address. That's why
Damn.
you cheapened it. And you also made it easy for those who are sinister and do not like anything that you're doing, the light or the deep, to waft it away. right? You made it
Mm.
so easy for them to do so because it had shallow roots. Now, are we ready to dig deep? Because that's the time. And you've never been away from the need to dig deep and do something deeply radical, get at the root cause. Are you ready now? And that's the question in
Wow.
front of the world right now. And it would be the same conversation, Lurie, that I would have with someone who was fighting addiction, who was saying, I can't stop using. And I don't want to, I know I'm trying to avoid feeling a feeling. Well, where did that initial feeling come from? I still go back to that. Is it a childhood trauma? Is it something that happened in the environment? We would still need to go back and excavate it safely, supportively, but you have to face it. And
Mm.
we in this country have not been willing to do that.
Wow.
That's what's
So,
happening here. Yeah,
you know
in
what,
my
the
view.
thing that when you said that we had allowed everybody else to participate in what we have fought for, and I know that is a conversation that could take up an entire 2 hours in and of itself, if not more. But this
Mm-hmm.
idea that I'm seeing a whole lot of Americans, and I'm putting that in air quotes, a whole lot of Americans
Mm-hmm.
talk about what's wrong with how the country is currently being led. Very few of them are talking about needing to restore diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like as much as they're talking about all the terrible things happening, very few people are outside of us are talking about the need to restore the legal frameworks for integration. Right now, ain't nobody really
Mm-hmm.
talking about that. Like it's mainly like, oh, our healthcare system, which I'm going to talk about again today. Podcast releases at 2 o'clock. We're going to talk about it. Oh,
Can't
it's the
wait.
financial system, it's the healthcare system, it's the education system.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Ain't nobody doing a whole lot to defend integration. Dr. Wendy Williams, or equal access to anything, let alone rights. And so even as we're talking about what the nation is going to have to repair, there are a lot of people who are like, well, that diversity stuff, that was kind of fluff. And
Yeah,
they're not
yeah,
even thinking about what it might look
yeah.
like to revitalize that element of quote unquote saving the nation.
What is so deeply sad about um, that is it lacks an intellectual seriousness and it lacks a strategic seriousness because
Mm,
when the queer women of the Combahee River Collective gifted us with intersectionality and helped us to understand the interrelatedness and complexity of either precarity or abundance. You pick it.
mm,
We either are doing together good for all or we're doing together horrible for all. But the idea is that no area can be compartmentalized off, and no people can be compartmentalized off. Shared fate is a very real thing. You can continue to try to split these elements off or split people off or subgroups off, but the reality is, Lurie, is that if the person is smoking in my neighborhood, even if you're further away, the toxic damage is still in the air and we breathe
right.
that because we are folks that rely on that. And so the same with thinking through how and what protections we need to have around integration around it's not about oh, that's good for the blacks. It's good for the full, complete participation of every individual in the society to have a fully functioning democracy. That's why you
Mm,
need the integration. The integration was only to communicate that, you know what, you all, when you started here and you thought that you could carve off and compartmentalize which people mattered and don't, that actually doesn't work here. And that's why we have to do
mm,
the integration. So the integration
mm.
was a solve for a fundamental problem, a fundamental error in logic around what a democracy is.
Wow.
And that's why it's breaking. That's why it's breaking.
So let it be broke then. We're at the point now where that bitch is broke. Okay, it's broke. They done broke that thing.
Mhm.
And now Dr. Wendy Williams, we got to pick up the pieces, right? I
That's
don't know what
right.
this country looks like on the
That's
other side.
right.
I don't know if this country is a country on the other side. I know I'm planning to have options in other countries on the other side, but I don't know what that means for what this place is
Mm-hmm.
going to be. But I also know that I don't have the energy to be
Mm-hmm.
trapped by fear. I don't have
No,
I can't navigate all of these things and be scared to death. I can't
that's
navigate all of
correct.
these things and be petrified. And so how
Mm-hmm.
do I deal with that emotionality? Realizing that the time for the hopey hopey joy joy yay, we gonna make it, we gonna be all right, we're not going back language, that was great, but we're back. Right? So we
Yes,
tried it. It didn't work. We said we wasn't going back. They were like, yes, the fuck you are. And now here we are. And so in the midst of remaking whatever, and I don't even want to say remaking, in the midst of birthing what new thing must happen, because I don't want to remake this. You ever realize sometimes things are so messy that it's easier to just
it's
abandon it?
okay for things to die. That's
Let
the
it
life
die.
cycle. There's a life death cycle to everything that's organic.
So if that's the case, How do I make
Mm-hmm.
sure that as I'm birthing the new, as I'm a part of the people who are doing the work of creating the new,
Mm-hmm.
how do I not let the fear of this moment paralyze me?
Yeah. I think that you need your fear, and I think you need to face it. What
Wait,
exactly
wait,
are
wait. You
you all
said you think we need the fear?
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that because we
Because
typically talk
mhm,
about fear as something that traps us. Why is it something that could be a
you need your
partner for
it's
us?
information.
Oof.
It's information. What I mean by that, you need your fear because you need your fear to face it. Because you need to know what exactly are you afraid of? You like your little job? You like
Mm,
that car? Is it the
mm,
vacation? How are you going to vacation in a crumbling? Like, what is happening here? So like,
mm,
really, I think that part of what we get at, it's not to diminish that these are wants or things that you need the human creature comforts. You're a human being, you have creature comforts. It's completely fine. I do too. But ask yourself, is it worth what you're paying for it?
right.
Is it worth is the fear and the thing that is the thing that you're afraid of losing because you're afraid fear of losing something, afraid something
Mhm.
will happen to you, losing your life, afraid somebody will
Mhm.
come take your thing, losing your stuff, right?
Mhm.
Afraid that you won't be seen who you are, losing your identity, having to have an ego conversation, losing something there.
Right.
Is it worth having? Like,
Mm.
what even is it worth, even if it's available to you on the other side of whatever this thing is that we're dealing with, right? Will it
Huh.
even be useful to you? Because you may be holding on to something. You may be holding on to a fur coat when we're going into forever summer. Do you need this?
Wow.
That's not a thing, right?
But I
And
worked
so
really hard for that fur coat, Miss Wendy. That fur coat was a symbol of my status. It was a recognition that I had
I
arrived, that I have
know, I
accomplished
know.
some
And
things.
that's where what our ancestors were fighting for. And I mean all of our collective ancestors when we're working against the breakdown of like not being able to see the humanity in another individual, because this is where it's really sad where we are.
Mm.
That's where we have to understand that we have sublimated the freedom, liberty, and right to, respond and be in the world in response to your calling and to love freely and liberally. That we substituted that big beautiful thing for a coat.
Oh. See,
Yeah,
now when you put it like that, that just sounds so
yeah, yeah,
disrespectful.